Hi everyone, my name is Kristina Werner and I'm going to be walking you through my May 2025 release at ConcordandKnight.com. So I'm going to be showing you all of the products that are in the release as well as some cards that I created using those products. Now, as I've done in the past, I have mixed and mingled all of these products all throughout the cards. So you'll be able to spot products used, on a bunch of different cards mixed in. So let's jump into it. This is the Long Line Roses bundle. It includes a 6x8 stamp set, dies for every single image on the stamp set, as well as some stencils to help you color in those images. Now, pay no attention to these little arrows on my die right here. This was a sample set. I wanted to reinforce these dies, so your finished dies when you purchase them will be reinforced in a couple little areas. But I want to show you exactly how this stamp is meant to work with the stencils as well. So the stamp set has two large floral elements that I've given you stencils to color them in. So the stencils themselves, when you use them together on the images, will color the flowers like this. And each kind of rose itself has 3 colors, and then the leaves have 2 colors. And I've labeled every element on the stencils to give you, some guidance for how you can use the stencils. So for instance, let's look at this stencil right here. On this first stencil, I've etched next to this one, Flower 1 Medium. Over here is Flower 1 Light, and also Flower 1 Leaves Light. So this is going to give you some guidance on how to color in your floral elements. Moving on to a different stencil, this one has Flower 2 Leaves Light and Flower 2 Light. So basically the only thing you need to remember is that this is Flower 1. I made it 1 because it's at the top of the stamp set, and this is Flower 2. So when you look at the different elements on the stencil set, you can figure out what goes where. So for instance, this one says Flower 1 Medium. So I can line it up, let's see, about right there on that rose. And then I can ink on a medium color for my rose. So you can do the same thing with all of the leaves. There are these 2 stencils here. These are the 2 leaves for the Flower 2. So we've got Flower 2 Leaves Dark and Flower 2 Leaves Light over here. So all you have to do is line them up over the stamped image. So let's look at some cards that I made using this stamp set. Here's this first card. I basically did the stenciling on this large rose here, and I also did a greeting from the stamp set. But the colors I used over here are Plumberry, Briar Rose, and Ballet Slipper for the actual rose itself. And then for the leaves down here, I used Avocado and Artichoke. I used the same exact blending colors for this card. So as you can see, the roses are the same color and the leaves are the same color as well. But for this one, I just die cut it out and had it coming off the edge of the card. I also stamped that greeting in Plumberry ink. Here's one where you get a really good idea of how you can fill in a 5x7 card with both of those large floral elements. And for this ink blending, I did a trio of inks to make it, sort of like a coral color. So I used Sorbet, Grapefruit, and Nectar. Same color on the leaves as the previous cards. Using that same color combo, I have this card right here. Another one of those cut out floral elements. And then I wanted to show you a couple of different ways to use the stamps, but not, stenciled or inked or anything like that. So this first one keeps the floral, the rose with the stems, completely black and white. And I just let it be on this card and let the colorful greeting take center stage. And for this example, I just stamped those roses on white cardstock in Pebble ink. Pebble's a nice, soft, kind of warm gray shade, and kind of like a neutral, and it works really well for a really quiet background. So once again, this is the Long Line Roses bundle. The Proud Words Stamps and Dies is a really fun kind of bundle to use together for a bunch of different occasions. There were different kind of situations that I was thinking of when I was creating this bundle. So like I've done in the past with the word Merry or happy birthday or thank you, I wanted to have this really thin monoline font be able to be cut out with this large chunky kind of die. So you can pair those two together. But I've also included a completely finished word right here and the outer die as well. So I have this long little bar right here, and that'll cut out these more capital letter type of greetings. And then the more intricate kind of handwritten greetings, I've got dies for all of those as well. And on the die set, I've actually included an additional little die here that says of you, so you can have it say proud of you. And here we go. Let's look at some cards with this bundle. This first one, I was thinking of possibly like a graduation type situation. So I've got a couple of cards here where I was thinking of graduation. So I thought that'd be really pretty. I've used, let's see, 4 different colors of cardstock for the word itself. And then these other elements has a 5th color. So these colors are, let's see, I'm testing myself here. Plumberry, ballet slipper, briar rose, sorbet, grapefruit, and then that's ballet slipper again. So those are the colors I used for this one. For the ink blending on this one, I wanted to create kind of a rainbow across this. And then, this could go for pride or, just an encouragement card for anyone in your family. So that was really pretty. Kept it really simple, just using some thin frames dies. Here's another one that could go for a ton of different occasions. I was also thinking of our graduates at the end of this school year, college or high school or whatever they've done. I thought this would be a really fun kind of proud of you type of card. And then this last one, I actually popped up these elements. I created like strips of cardstock using briar rose and let's see, what color is this? This color is powder. I made them into stripes and I wanted to have a little bit of white at the top. And then I die cut those proud letters all together. Then I just stamped the secondary greetings above and below. So this is the Proud Words bundle. I think there's a lot of great occasions for this bundle and the stamp and dies. The country ticking background stamp is a great kind of staple to have in your crafting stash. In fact, I used it on multiple cards for this release, and it's going to pop up in a lot of different places, I'm pretty sure. Please excuse the stained stamp here. It is well loved already. So the actual image itself is about 5.5 by 5.5. So it should span all the way across your A2 cards. But if you want to extend it, you could always just repeat the stamp, since this, these rows are just repeating elements. So you could just stamp it, multiple times to have it extend. So let's look at some cards made using the country ticking background stamp. Here's this first one where I actually stamped the background on different colors of cardstock and then isolated different sections and cut them out into strips or borders. And then I just put it all together for this background. Here's a card where it's a little bit more subtle, used as sort of just an extra element. Just have a little bit of the country ticking background here at the bottom. I really loved using the country ticking background as a really subtle element. So this is stamped in pebble on white cardstock. And I used the same exact kind of technique over here on this card. I just pulled the background stamp up a little bit higher. Here's that background stamp stamped in white pigment ink on top of an ink blended background. I believe this was, Brickyard ink blended into Plumberry. Those are 2 of the new 2025 colors. They're just beautiful blended into each other. And for this last card, this was a little bit of like a figuring out how to do this. It was a little bit hard to make it so they reflected. I'm hoping I can share a video on this soon, because it was a little complicated trying to figure out exactly how to cut these so they all came to that center section. But the country ticking background looks really, really neat like this. I think it would be really fun to do another background of this type where you have like intersecting, kind of lines going into one area. So that's the country ticking background. I think it's going to be a really good, like I said, staple in your stamping stash. It's got a little bit of that delicate look to it, but really airy and not too overwhelming. The Big Type Greetings 2 dies is an extension of the Big Type Greetings dies. I loved the font and the size of those greetings in the original die set, so I wanted to add some more greetings into the mix. So in this set, we have Get Well Soon, Congrats, Friend, and Love You. So let's look at some cards using this die set. By the way, these dies have the words itself plus the outer die, so you can do, double colors for these. First up on this card, I have Friend at the bottom here. The background is cut out of plumberry and the word is out of white. Next up, I have this one, and I want to say, let's see, the background is grapefruit and the red shade is brickyard. Such a good sized greeting to just go up in that top corner. I love these dies cut out of metallic paper. You're going to see it, I think, 2 more times on some other cards, but I love this Get Well Soon. Keeps the card really simple and it's a nice substantial size. This Congrats card is perfectly sized for 5x7 to have it go across a portrait card. It's equally, wonderfully sized if you wanted to turn your card and have it go the other direction as well. But so many different occasions coming up this time of year where you might need a Congrats card. And then one final example, I told you I loved it out of metallic cardstock, so here's another example. This Get Well Soon just tucks right into that corner. It's a really good size. It doesn't take up too much space. So this is the Big Type Greetings 2 die set. 4 different greetings with their outer shapes as well. I'm so excited about this stencil pack. This is the Blissful Blooms stencils. There are 5 stencils in total, and these are the really large 6x9 stencils that we've all grown to love, which allow you to create 2 A2 card fronts with 1 ink blending, or a larger 5x7 card. So the finished design can look like this. This is shown down half size, but it has a lot of really fun floral elements that overlap. Lots of different opportunities to have different colors. So the stencils themselves, right here, they all have some lettering at the bottom that says my name, and then also has the name of the stencil set in the bottom corner. So when you go to do your stenciling, just make sure those words are face up and that they're at the bottom of your stenciling, and then you'll be able to get everything oriented for your layering. So let's look at some cards that I made using the stencil pack. Here's this one right here. Oh gosh, I'm not even sure on the colors on this. I'm thinking ballet slipper, avocado, powder, buttercup, briar rose. There's quite a few going here, but this is a really fun floral little pattern. All right, here's another one where I did something a little bit different. I isolated different flowers in the stencil set and I stenciled them individually. So I decided I liked this flower element right here, so I did that first, just that flower. Then I did this one and this one, so I get kind of a different kind of design and orientation for where all these flowers are. Here's a really colorful example, kind of almost rainbow colors. It's really pretty. I think I used Brickyard, Sorbet, actually that's Creamsicle. That's definitely Creamsicle. Brickyard, Creamsicle, Buttercup, Avocado. I think this is powder back here as well, but it makes a really fun, colorful pattern. And my last example is this one where I just didn't ink blend a couple of the stencils, and instead I used a thin black pen or marker just to draw in those floral elements. So that's another way to stretch these stencils that have really large open areas. You can just trace them with a black pen or any other pen. So that is the Blissful Blooms stencil pack. I think this is going to be super fun to create tons of colorful backgrounds. This is a die set that I think has been greatly anticipated. Many of the people in my live streams and on my YouTube channel were requesting dies that would do stitching lines. I didn't think we would need dies because I don't think I've actually done like die cut stitch lines on cards, but we really loved the idea of having them as dies. So this is actually going to be a part of the Kristina's Finishing Touches sort of suite of products. This is just the die set. So these 4 dies all are 7.5 inches in length. So they're perfect for your really larger cards, or if you want to, put them at a diagonal on a smaller card, you have plenty of space to work with to make sure it goes over the entire span of your card. Now, I've used these dies on a lot of different cards all over the course of this release. So let's look at some of those. You probably spotted some of them if you've watched all the other products from this release. This was one of my favorites, where I used the country ticking background for the stamped elements, but then I snuck in 3 little die cut areas using the different die cut textures from the Finishing Touches dies. On this card, it's a little bit subtle. It's hard to see because it's on white, but I did the little wavy stitch lines there in the background. Here's one where I used every single Finishing Touches die, and I just had them going across this card. And then I did my ink blending after it was a die cut. So all of that ink really goes into the grooves that are cut, gives it quite a bit more texture. On this card, I had the simple like straight line going right across, and then the proud die cut word right on top. It's the perfect size to kind of have that die cut word centered right over those stitch lines. Here's another card where I used all 4 of the dies. You can see that, I'm sorry, I have to block my bright lights in my craft room. It's great task lighting, but it doesn't always work well when I'm showing white cardstock on camera. But you can see all 4 of those create a really fun texture going all the way across this 5x7 card. Here's another example of just the really simple kind of wavy line going across. In the die set, there are 2 wavy lines. There's one that's just 2 lines, and the other one has 5. So if you want just a really small little segment, use the smaller one. But if you want something a little bit more substantial, taking up more room, you could double this, die cut it twice, or just die cut using the one with the 5 lines. And one more example, I've got this one right here where all of the stitch lines go across the bottom, just right over this stenciled background. It just gives it a little bit of texture. So here is the Kristina's Finishing Touches die set. You can add all those dash lines or stitch lines using dies. So this is my May 2025 release at ConcordandNinth.com. All of the products I've talked about are available at the website right now, and I hope you enjoy them. I can't wait to see what you all create with them.